Well, hello, happy stampers, and welcome to my happy stamping studio. My name is Judy Anderson from judystamps.com. And today we're going to be doing a fun watercoloring technique and using some watercolor paper and some new products from our upcoming 2024-25 annual catalog. You know, it starts today. So if there's any last minute things you want out of that 2023 to 24 catalog, grab them today because it's their last chance. So today I'm going to be using a background stamp and a stamp set and dies, a bundle that is coming up in the catalog tomorrow. So what do you say? Let's get started, everybody. Okay, so got to adjust this just a second here. There we go. Okay, so we are going to be using the Country Birdhouse bundle. And this is a stamp set of 13 stamps that includes images and sentiments. And then we have the coordinating dies. Now these dies do cut out the birdhouse and the images here in the stamp set, but then there's additional dies also to create some fun birdhouses. In fact, I'm going to be doing a home decor piece with this in one of my classes. We're also going to be using the Leaf Collection background stamp. Sorry. This is a fun background stamp to add interest to your pieces of cardstock. We're also going to be using the shimmer gems, and these are the in color shimmer gems. I actually introduced these last week in my Happy Stamping with Judy community, and we're going to be using the Pretty in Pink shimmer gems, and I may add a green, but I think the green is going to contrast too much. Okay, I have a very small piece of watercolor paper. I do save all my scraps and the image that we're going to be stamping on that today. And we're going to be using a new color brought to our color family, and this is Basic Beige. You may ask, well, what color does it go? Well, you know, you remember we had Sahara sand, and I called Sahara sand the khaki of our color families. This is a little bit lighter than that, but I think it has the same tones. So stamp that image. Let's go ahead and set this to the side. Now, in addition to that, I've got some basic white mats and scraps here to do some stamping on. Our card base is going to be Pretty in Pink. I'm also using Lemon Lime Twist. That's going to brighten things up today. I'm going to set my cardstock to the side, and we're going to do some stamping. I do not want to get ink onto my glass mat. I'm going to pull out one of my sheets here. And you know, I use my sheets until I can't stamp on them anymore. I know several demonstrators bring out a new one for every live they do, but I don't. So we have our basic white cardstock. On that, we're going to be stamping a couple of the images. And I think I forgot to pull, oh no, that image isn't out. So we're going to die cut one image, and let me get my die cuts out so that I have them ready. We're going to be using this one, which is for the flowers. This one, which is the base of the birdhouse, but I'm using it for a flower planter today, and the bird. So pretty basic. I'm going to cut this out in a second. In the meantime, we're going to go ahead and stamp our images. And these are flower images, and I want to stamp two of those. And I'm going to go ahead and use the basic beige for those also. Just get those stamped here. We're going to be die cutting those out. Okay. Now, I am not going to be watercoloring these. These I'm actually going to be using Stampin' Blend. And I forgot to grab them, so hang on just a second here. Okay, so we're going to be using the Lemon Lime Twist Light and the Pretty in Pink Light. And I'm basically just going to color these in. I'm going to use the brush point because it's a little bit finer and these images are tiny. So get in here. Now you could choose to watercolor these also if you wanted, just using watercolor paper. I love our watercolor paper. You're going to find that the color moves really well on it. Just going to color these. I do want these to be a little bit more predominant than the bird. We're going to watercolor the bird, and you're going to see how the colors just kind of meld together. Okay, then I'm going to grab the dark also. I think I'm going to need it. So when I use my Stampin' Write markers, or my Stampin' Blends, I was going to use the markers, and then I decided to use the blends. I color it all in light to begin with. Just coloring the image in completely. And then we are going to come back with the dark. And I am going to grab the lemon lolly also for the center of the flower. Although I could do that with the marker. I did do some cards, and instead of using the Stampin' Blends, I used the markers. And our new markers, you guys, they're wonderful. I love the small end or the pointed end. So we've got those. Now, it kind of looks like a blob. So I'm going to take the dark, and I'm just going to go along some of those lines to outline those petals to give it some depth. Just go right around there, only takes a few seconds. And then the same thing up here. I'm going to actually do some full spots a little bit darker, just very lightly. Okay, well, I'm interpreting both flowers a little bit different. Okay, we've got that, and so you can see it up close, but I want to blend those out a little bit. So I'm going to go back with my light, Pretty in Pink, and just go over those back areas, because what that's going to do is that's also going to make those back petals seem farther away and give it a little bit of dimension just in there also. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm not going to take as much time to explain what I'm doing. You're going to see that I'm coloring in circular motions because I'm just filling it all in. I do use strokes with the blends when I want to blend colors in a certain direction, and that helps when you're coloring. Okay, I'm going to color what I want light. Okay, those other ones we're going to do a little bit darker. Make it easier because they are small images. Go in here, like that. Okay, same thing here. I'm just going to go right along those lines very quickly. How many of you are loving the new in colors? I know they've been all over the internet. I know you've seen them. They're another bright color. Okay, I'm going to grab my lemon lolly and do the centers right in there. And then I'm going to take the dark pink and I'm just going to dab a couple of these right out here like they're little berries. Just adding a little bit of interest there. Now, if you wanted, you could have stamped these in a green. I need to be very careful here. I do want those stems to be green. I'm pressing very lightly with my Stampin' Blend, like that, and getting a small. Okay, so we have those images. We're ready to do some cutting in just a second. I do want to color the bird first, though. So we have our bird, and we are going to be using our watercolor painter. And I just had it here. I'm missing it. So let me grab another one. This is one of our old ones, but I do want the one that is got the small tip. I just found it. And I'm going to use my little palette here that I'm going to move my dies over to my machine. And I'm just going to squirt some water in there. And that's because I want to have better control of the water that I put on here, because I don't want to make it too wet. So I'm just going to take my water brush, and I'm going to start by adding color or water over where I'm going to put my first color. It is a little bit wet. Once again, you don't want to make it too wet. And we're going to start with our lemon lolly. I'm going to squeeze the bottom of the pad so it touches the lid, so I have some ink down here. And I'm going to grab that ink with my brush. I do want to put a little bit of water in there, not much. And I'm going to tell you, this is going to be a layering process. You're going to layer your color on one at a time. And I just want that color to come down into where those other colors are going to be. Okay, so while that is drying, I'm going to clean my brush, and I just wipe it out in my Stampin' Scrub. I need to squeeze this again. I need some color in that lid. There we go. And oops, I dropped the lid of my water brush. Okay, once again, I want to add, trying to get this all on camera. I want to add a little bit of water to where I'm going to color next. And that's the wing and the belly and a little bit of the body up here. Oops, a little bit too much. You don't want too much water. Okay, you're going to see that that yellow is already starting to blend into where I just put the water, because that water carries the ink. Now, I want to warn you, when you're doing this, as it dries, it does blend together. What I do is I color from far away to where I want it to blend in. So with this, I'm going to take this around the belly and blend it up towards the head. Once again, just another little layer. And then I'm going to do the wing. The same thing. Blending that up. Wanting the color light to begin with. Go down into there. And then up there. Okay, so that's our first layer of those two colors. Clean that off. Now I'm going to go in our Summer Splash, which is another new color. Need some more color. There we go. So I'm going to wet my brush just a little bit and put it on that tail. You don't want too much water, because you don't want it to just like go all over. Now this is a little bit deeper color, so I am going to water it down. Your colors do lighten as they dry. So once again, I'm starting at the tip where I want it darker and going into that other color. Okay, I'm also going to do the tips of the wings. So just adding a little bit of color right like that. Okay, so I'm going to bring that up close so you can see what it looks like so far. So that's what it looks like so far. But we've got another layer to do. So you can do this 2, 3 layers. It just depends. Just make sure that your watercolor brush got a little bit of water in there. And then I'm going to go back up here to my lemon lolly, and I want to deepen this. So I'm going to go around the edges and a little bit down here. Clean my brush off and my Stampin' Scrub over here. I want a little bit more water into my ink here. Because remember, you're watercoloring, and watercoloring is light. Turn my image around, and I'm going to start underneath the wing and just follow that wing. And then the outside, this body. Okay. Here I'm blending both, so I kind of go in both directions. And this time I'm going to bring the color up onto his head a little bit. And then we're going to color here, his wing. Get that up into there. Now, if I wanted a little bit of lemon lolly to come down a little bit farther, all I have to do while that ink is still wet is just blend that down and up, and it'll blend those colors together. Okay, I'm going to go into my summer splash. How many of you like to watercolor? I am a watercolor crazy person. Now I'm just following this time, I'm just following the lines of the tail. Okay, and then I'm going to pick up a little bit of ink here, and now I'm going to follow the outside of the wing. Okay, and the beauty of this is even though I'm putting color just along that area, it's actually going to blend out into the rest of the bird. And if this was a little bit closer, you'd be able to see it happening. But I find that when I get too close to my camera, I end up losing you guys, or you lose me, I should say. I'm just going here, just like that. Now see how that is coming along? Pretty, isn't it? Now it's going to change as it dries. Okay, I'm going to clean my brush, and I'm going to grab some crumb cake. If I want to add color to this, I can later. As it dries, I kind of keep an eye on my images and then add as I go along. Some crumb cake. I've got plenty in my lid here. So I just want to pick up a little bit for his beak. And his feet. And I'm doing this very lightly. So I don't want it spread all over. Now I did not wet this portion because my brush is wet enough. Now, this is my image so far. I'm going to leave it. Yes, his eye is a little faded, but once he dries, we can do his eye. Now I'm going to put this down on the floor and put my heater on, and hopefully it will dry. Okay, so while that is drying, we're going to go ahead and stamp onto our lemon lime twist. So I have my lemon lime twist ink pad. Now there's 2 ways of inking up your stamp. You can take your brayer across, and then braid. That's the easiest way and quickest way. But you can just simply take your ink pad and pounce it. And I'm not pushing hard, I'm just pouncing it because you don't want to link a lot of ink in that background. You know, you want it on the raised portion of the stamp. 1 of 2 ways you can do this. You can turn this over and stamp on your paper. I like to do my paper to my background stamp. And that way I can, as you can see, this is plenty big to cover that whole piece. So I'm going to take my hand and just rub it. Okay, if you had a dry board eraser, you could use that. You could use your ink pad if you want. I find just using my fingers is fine. And the reason why I put this paper over the top is so that my fingers don't get all full of ink when I go over the edges. Okay, I'm gonna pull this up and look how beautiful that is. Isn't that gorgeous? Oh my gosh. Okay, so we have that. Let's get our machine out here and we're going to go ahead and cut these. So I'm going to cut my little bottom of my birdhouse slash planter. I just thought it looked like one of those planters that you put up on under your window, you know, the window planters. Okay, we got that through. Okay, let's push that back and get our flowers. Now remember that you step your plates. So you can see I have a step here so that they're not even. Okay, we're going to cut this out. You could have also stamped the flowers with I wouldn't do black, but you could do a gray. Smoky slate would be pretty for this card, unless you wanted to do a black and white ribbon on there, checked ribbon, which I do a lot. And you guys have come to expect me to do those quite often. And or you could you know, use gray granite. I think basic gray would be a little bit too harsh unless you want it darker, just because I'm doing the watercoloring on here. If I was doing all blends or watercolor pencils where it might be a little bit deeper, I'm gonna bring it back this way, it's easier for me to take it off. Then you could use the color. So here are the flowers. Aren't those cute? Okay, so we've got those cut. Let me check out our bird. Oh, it's pretty dry. It's not quite dry enough to do the eye yet. I'm going to go ahead and cut it though while I have my machine out. Let's get this on here. Oops. Wants to keep moving on me. There we go. Okay, I put down the tip first and then kind of slap it down and hold it. That way it doesn't move in most cases. Oops, but my bottom plate is not moving. Get that in there. You could use some washi tape, but you have to make sure that your paper is really dry or it peels it up. Okay, I am going to have to do some trimming on this. So let me grab my snips, because it did move a little bit, but it's really easy. At least it moved on the easy edge that it's easy to trim. You know, so when you die cut, if you get too big of an edge, you can always trim that off. Okay, let's move our machine. We are going to grab our pieces here. Now, I am going to do a happy birthday. And I think that the beige is going to be too light. So I am going to grab my gray granite. Even though it's a color that I did not use, I'm going to let this dry up a little bit. And I'm going to do happy birthday right down along the edge. And there's a reason why I'm not centering it. So we've got our happy birthday. Then I've got this decorative, kind of reminds me of an eyelet design. And I think I'm going to use the lemon lime twist for that. Let's grab that out. I was trying to decide what color. I could even use the blue. You know what? That's what I'm going to use. I'm going to use the Summer Splash because we only have him on that on the bird. Okay, I'm going to move my bird so I don't lose it. Put him over there while he's drying. So I'm going to line this up on my grid, and you've got grid paper, so you can do the same thing. And I want to line it up so that the bottom of my block goes along a line, and there's a reason for that. And I'll show you. Lift that up, make sure it stays along there. Now, if I line it up on the same line here, they should be pretty even going across. See that? So see how straight that came out by just that little lining up trick there? Okay, so we've got that done. We need to clean off our stamp. I've been cleaning my stamps off and not telling you. Okay, now on the inside, I want to put, hoping you have the best day ever. And that is going to be this white piece. I'm going to go ahead and put this right on here. Like that. And then I'm going to bring that flower in again. And we're going to stamp that flower on the inside and color it. This is taking me a little bit longer than I hoped. I hope you're still with me. And we're just going to stamp it so that part of the image is showing on here. Get our blends real quick and color them. How many of you personalize the inside of your cards too? Sometimes I don't when I'm here, but I will do it after I'm live. And then a lot of times I don't put the sentiment on the inside until I'm ready to send the card. This depends on who I'm sending the card to. I like to personalize them, but I can have part of it done, and it makes it a little bit easier and quicker when I need a card. Here we go. But in most cases, I'm sure that when you guys are creating your cards, you are creating it for a person in mind right from the beginning. Okay, let's do our lemon lime right here. And then it's time to assemble our card. Okay, the only thing I need to do is grab my bird. Okay, grab my bird. Okay, and we're going to do the eye real quick. And I don't want a lot of water in my brush. I'm just going to color the eye. Just put a little bit of color on here just to kind of separate those feet. Doesn't look like one big blob. I will hold that up to the camera. So see how those colors just blended together? It looks lighter on camera than it is in person. Okay, let's get our card base and let's start assembling. So we've got this here. Now I'm not going to put ribbon on here. I thought, oh, I could add some ribbon to this. I should have folded this. There we go. Centering that on the card front. Okay, then we're going to get our little yeah, our little flower box. And I've got these strips here from my yeah, dimensionals. We're going to go ahead and place that here. I don't want it quite in the center. I do want it off center to the left and down to the bottom just a little bit. Then I'm going to grab some dimensionals for my flowers. Okay, we're going to place those on here. I'm going to have this one drooping down the side, just like that. And this one kind of overlapping and up here, kind of like that. So they're a little bit different. And then I'm going to put my bird on. I'm going to get dimensional for my bird. Still a little bit damp. Ideally, I would wait to put it on. We're going to have him standing right here, right there on our bird. Now, see, you could put a piece of ribbon across here. I'll probably take a piece of cardstock that I've embossed and put it across here just for some interest on that front. But let's get the inside all assembled. I did make an extra mat for the inside of this card. Just to remind you guys, make the inside of the cards pretty too, as well as your envelopes. We don't like naked envelopes. I did a blog post about that, and I got a couple comments about it and said, oh, I didn't know what you were talking about to begin with. Okay, and we've got that on there. So that's right like that. And then here is that. And let's get our gems. And this is where I said that green would just not do well. So I think that the best color is the Pretty in Pink. And we will just put some dancing around our flowers here. Can be off the edge a little bit. Let's put this one down there. Okay, so that's today's card. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Took a little bit longer than I thought, but I hope you enjoyed learning how to do this watercoloring. And don't forget, the catalog goes live tomorrow. So I will have a host code in my newsletter that's going out in the morning. So I want to thank you guys again for joining me. And until we meet again, everybody, happy stamping.